And honestly, some of the most meaningful comments weren't even about dating itself. They were about fear or protection or divorce or trauma or healing. And the reality that the way people think about commitment is often shaped by the pain that they've lived through. And honestly, this is where the conversation started becoming way deeper than I expected it to. Because once people started sharing their perspectives, I realized this wasn't really just a conversation about dating anymore. It became a conversation about fear and trust and healing and all those things that I mentioned before. It became about commitment and divorce and protection and clarity. It became about vulnerability and honesty and pain. And I think one of the biggest things the comments revealed is that people's perspectives on relationships are often shaped by what they've lived through, which sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but I don't think I fully understood how much that affects the way people approach commitment. One of the women who commented on the post shared that she had been divorced. And honestly, that shifted the tone of the conversation for me immediately. Because suddenly we weren't talking about ideas in the abstract anymore. Now we were talking about someone who had experienced broken covenant personally. And one of the things she brought up was protection. Legal protection, financial protection, practical protection. And I realized pretty quickly that while I was approaching the conversation from a more philosophical or theological perspective, someone else was approaching it from lived pain. And honestly, I think both of those perspectives matter, because when someone has experienced betrayal or abandonment or broken trust, it makes sense that they would think differently about commitment. It makes sense that legal structure feels important. It makes sense that vulnerability feels risky. It makes sense that permanence feels complicated. And I think that realization really challenged me in a healthy way, because it forced me to recognize that not everyone approaches relationships from the same emotional starting point. Some people are pursuing commitment. Other people are recovering from broken commitment. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons modern relationships can feel so complicated, because people are often carrying completely different fears into the same relationship. One person fears commitment, another person fears abandonment. One person wants freedom, another person wants security. One person is afraid of being trapped, the other person is afraid of being left. And maybe that's part of why these conversations get so emotionally charged, because underneath the philosophy and theology, there are real experiences shaping the way people hear these ideas. And honestly, I think that's why I want this series to stay thoughtful and careful, because I don't want this to become, here's the right way to date. I think the deeper conversation is, how has modern culture and our personal experiences shaped the way we think about love, commitment, covenant, and vulnerability?